There was a race against time in 2004 to get Sakir ready for its Grand Prix debut. But today, the only race is where it matters, right on track. Welcome to the Bahrain Grand Prix. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Andrea Kimi Antonelli lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Hadjar, Franco Colapinto, and Russell, Albon, Pepe Marti, Bortoletto, and Carlos Sainz, Stroll, Mayer, Charles Leclerc, and Aaron, Maloney, Jackson, Ollie Behrman, and Pierre Gasly, O'Sullivan, Ocon, Lawson, and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, and failing that, within the points.
All right, there we have it. Drivers pulling up to their grid slots here on Bahrain. You guys just saw the possible race strategies. I believe Lando Norris is going to be the only person in the top 10 to start on the soft tires. Everybody else is going to be starting on those hard tires, so it's going to be advantage for us in the beginning, disadvantage for us towards the end of the race, depending on what people do for their race strategies. 5 red lights are coming on. Antonelli and Norris in the front row, and we are off. Both Konnersports, both Porsches, and I believe that is both, nope, not Ferraris, McLaren. Sainz dropping down the order down to P13. Norris having the inside lane. The Aston Martin and Porsche of Hadjar and Alonso almost coming in contact, as we almost had a 3-wide situation there coming through turn 2. Side by side between Sainz and Stroll, as the rest of the grid is starting to go single file. Both Red Bulls having a horrible start to their weekend in qualifying. They're both not having a great start to the race. They're in P16, P15 as we go through the rest of the grid. Coming through turn 8, Antonelli is tailing about a second behind Lando Norris as we're coming through the hairpin of turn 10. DRS not active for another lap, but that is Antonelli closing in ever so slightly. So we're coming up to the long left-hander of turn 11. Side by side for the Ferrari and Konnersport between Bortoletto and Russell into turn 11. Hülkenberg and O'Sullivan at the back of the grid fighting for position. They had a not so great start to their weekend as well. But the top 10 is pretty widespread. Alonso currently P3, Hadjar P4. And that is Colapinto. You guys saw it right in the top 10 order for the start of this race. Colapinto, P5. We did adjust his ratings. We didn't adjust them too much. Bortoletto, we didn't really adjust, but we did adjust Marty a little bit. He dropped down the order quite a bit. We'll get into the adjusted ratings in a little bit, as we're seeing side by side between Colapinto and Kelly Mayer, actually, as he's still fighting to hold on to that P5 spot. We see the cars coming through the hill, downhill section at the start of sector 2. On board with George Russell as he's trying to chase down Bortoletto. You see the Mercedes' Kelly Mayer putting pressure on Colapinto just ahead. as he's coming through quite nicely through turn 8. We'll be moving on to lap 4, the end of lap 4, where Lando Norris is finally going to have Antonelli overtake him down the main straight. Alonso's already fallen back 4.2 seconds between the two front runners, as he's getting chased down by Isaac Hadjar, who's within 2 seconds behind him. So easy pass for Antonelli into the lead here on lap 5 here in Bahrain. He's starting to pull away. Norris gonna have the DRS. And the extra battery to push a little bit over the line there. Track limits warning for Norris, as he's going to be pushing as much as he can through this lap to try to catch up to Antonelli. Coming down the back straight of sector 3 after turn 13. And that's going to be smoke for Antonelli in the Mercedes. Very unfortunate for him. Very unfortunate for Mercedes, as they've been doing pretty well so far this season. That's only going to be a sector 3 flag. He's going to be plenty far off the track for no safety car or no virtual safety car. On board with Russell, you can see the car pulled off to the side. No safety car bug, no DNF bug here for Antonelli, so the race will continue. Lap 9 now. Nothing has really changed. Hadjar is closed in 2.3 seconds between him and Norris, as Norris is going to be the front runner and the first one to be coming into the pits off of these soft tires. I doubt there are going to be any other soft tire runners who aren't going to be going past this lap. We'll have to wait and see who else comes in. As we see, we're trying to conserve as much energy since we aren't manually managing our battery this season. We did start, I believe, in Brazil last season. I believe that's Carlos Sainz coming into the pits as well. Yes, he is. It's going to be a clean pit stop for Carlos Sainz. Sounds like Paul Aaron and Behrman in the pits as well, side by side between the two Toyotas down on the main straight. Paul Aaron in for his pit stop on a new set of medium tires. It's going to be a clean stop for him as well. So we see he's going to be tailed by Oliver Behrman, who came in for a pit stop. Liam Lawson already 30 seconds back here on lap 10. I'm not sure what happened with him. Hadjar is currently leading Callie Mayer by 1.9 seconds. 2 seconds now as he's coming through sector 3. Callie Mayer coming in behind Hadjar. He's going to be staying out on lap 10. That means Callie Mayer is going to be coming in off of her tires. Alonso staying out as well. So a lot of the hard tire runners only stretching out their tires a little bit more. Colapinto in for his pit stop off hard tires. Seems like he hit the brakes a little bit too hard coming in. As you guys can see, we still have the issue with Alpine pit box, so on and so forth. As we see Russell passing Norris down the main straight. Russell currently Q3. He has yet to come in for his pit stop. Gasly coming in for a new set of soft tires. I think he was on hard tires to start this race. He could have been on mediums, but it's going to be the two Toyotas running pretty well. Nobody's coming in for their team as of yet. Carlos Sainz looking to go through the grid order, gain some positions. Two Red Bulls yet to pit. Two Maseratis yet to pit, looks like. Maybe, no, I think Lawson, no. We had a Maserati pit earlier on lap 9. That's my bad. I can see they're 5 seconds apart or so. Yeah, Lawson's time is jumping around down there at the end of the order. Russell behind Lando Norris, as he had to give way because he had older tires. Hadjar still ahead here at the end of lap 11. He's going to be coming in, and Alonso's probably going to be coming in behind him off of those hard tires. He's running a very strong race so far this weekend. As we see him coming in, Alonso's going to be staying out long for those hard tires. It looks like he's going to be trying for a one-stop race to get onto that podium. But we see Hadjar coming in for his pit stop. Not sure who else we're going to be able to see coming in. That's going to be George Russell coming in behind Lando Norris. That's going to be Hadjar there in the background, as Alonso comes out Alonso's still out for his pit stop. So we see Russell coming in for his. to a new set of mediums. No issues. Clean pit stop for Russell. As we see some of the other grid drivers, who is that coming in? It's going to be coming in ahead of Maloney. I think that's Maloney coming in. Or it could be, yeah, Stroll and Maloney, I believe, are coming in currently. Lap 12 of 29. Russell currently P11, Alonso P1, Norris P2 with Hadjar about 5.5 seconds back. As we see a lot of the other cars who are coming in from their pit stops coming back out onto the track. So we see O'Sullivan on his pit stop, no issues there. As we go back through the grid here on lap 12, as we await Alonso coming in for his. And as he's coming in for his pit stop, we're going to be going to our F1 commentators.
Well, I guess you can call me crazy, or anyone in the stands crazy, because we have a Lotus in the top 5 currently. Franco Colapinto pushing that car to its limits during qualifying under the lights yesterday, as he's about 7 seconds behind that of Calimero in the Mercedes.
Not only that, he has managed to hold on to that position after battling with George Russell and several other drivers until the field began to spread out across the grid. This is the same position he started in, making it not only his best result so far this weekend, but also the best position Lotus has achieved in their returning season.
A swift move from Russell there, as well as a strong performance from several teams so far this weekend, other than Lotus. The top 10 starters featured a diverse mix of drivers, including Pepe Marti in the Audi and both Porsche Williams cars, which had struggled in the later races of last season. And since we're on the subject of several teams, we have quite the task today for our lovely assistant, Ted Kravitz. You're down in the pits. How's the race been so far down there?
The race here in the pits has been nothing but non-stop action. I actually ran into Hamilton, who was in the Ferrari garage while we got to watch Bortoletto's pit stop. He said to me that both Ferrari drivers were feeling confident in the work being put into the car in preparation for the remainder of the season.
Well, from what we've seen here from the commentary box so far tonight is that a lot of teams are having issues when it comes to taking off and putting on tires. Any comment on that, Ted, before you get over to the Lotus pit gantry?
I spoke with a Ferrari technician who explained how humidity and temperatures, even at night, impact teams in the Middle East. And despite being on the coast, pit crews that put in as much effort as they do can still be affected by the weather in a negative way, and that the tyre issues we've seen could be a factor of that.
All right, Ted, we will call back once you're ready as we make a call down to the Porsche pit box. James, how's the team feeling tonight? Must feel pretty good to be fighting towards the front again.
I mean, it does feel great, but we take any opportunity to be where we are at, so it's working in our favour at the moment.
The team had a bit of a struggle throughout the mid-season of last year. Seemed to be a bit of a game of cat and mouse with upgrades amongst the teams.
In a way, yes, with only 16 races last season and the same scheduled for this season, it will likely occur again sooner or later. However, the time teams have between races allows for significant development of parts for upcoming events, making it difficult to predict who will have the advantage each race weekend, except for leading teams like Mercedes or Konnersport.
What is certain is that the top 3 are all race winners. So Hadjar will need to push hard for the top spot once again in pursuit of his first win of the season. We also look forward to seeing Porsche Williams contend for the championship this year. Thank you for your time, James, and best of luck.
I just hope they hold their progression this time around. If you remember, they did fall off through the midseason, like you said, and with their retained driver lineup, that is a possibility of happening again.
That is a possibility. And it's sure to happen to a few teams this season. Ted, we see you're down at Lotus. We'll hand it off to you.
Thanks to you, Crofty, and to Christian as well, even though no pit stops were expected anytime soon. The big question is how the team managed to get Colapinto into the top 10. Sure, there's talk about upgrade packages, but we'd love to know if there was more behind it.
Well, there's upgrades on both cars, and with how Hulkenberg's been feeling under the weather lately, we decided to switch the newer parts over to Colapinto's car for the best chance at points. The main focus was, of course, the long stint runs for the race, but of course, with a young, confident driver behind the wheel, he managed to push the car to new limits for the team. Now he just has to focus on crossing the finish line in the points.
That seems like a very bold move, not for the team, but more so a very bold Christian Horner move. Did you have much say in the matter?
The situation was discussed before the race weekend, and it wasn't a forced decision. It's still early in the season where we can't get both cars in the fight, so the team was on board with taking a risk this weekend. Now we just hope it pays off and we get some much needed points.
Well, we do hope to see Lotus scoring on their returning season to the grid. Thank you for letting me come by, Christian, as I'm now headed down to the Mercedes pit box before cars start coming in. Back to you, Crofty.
Some rapid-fire action on track as Ted hustles his way toward the Mercedes gantry. There he is, like a man chasing the last slice of pizza. But what really caught my eye and deserved a quick radio call was Red Bull. Mekis, the team's been fighting to get into the points this weekend. Care to spill the tea for just a moment?
No, not at all. The race weekend that the team was looking forward to was no shock. We had some minor issues in the first few races, and we've been hard at work behind the scenes to get things sorted out for the remainder of the season.
Red Bull has been noticed to be dropping down the order the last few seasons, and I'm sure there's research being set up to look into for next season. Any input on that?
Yes, the team has some long-term data that we will look into when implementing for next season, so hopefully we can keep the car towards the front of the pack.
That's some data for us to look into as well, James, which I also wanted to ask, how are your drivers doing this season? I know they've both experienced some issues in the first few races. How's that been on their morale and motivation?
The issues are bound to happen every race weekend. It's just dependent on the severity and whether or not the team can mitigate or remove those issues for the drivers to stay in the fight. They're both still well into the works of managing themselves on and off the track, and I'm sure they will get the most out of the car this season.
Well, with a strong lineup of Behrman and Jackson, I'm sure you will be getting some race wins this season, Mekis. We thank you for your time. Ted, back to you.
Thanks, Crofty, once again. And no, I wasn't chasing after that last slice. I was just concerned about cars coming in since I was technically on the track, so I had to hurry down here to Mercedes. Toto, I noticed Kimi was up here a moment ago. He's probably headed to his post-race interview. Care to share what happened earlier in the race?
Yeah, it was simply an issue with the engine. But we had the same issues last race weekend in Japan with Kelly's car when under the safety car restart.
When you say same issues, is it related to how the car is responding on track? Because Kelly's car was under a delta time for the safety car, correct?
We'd like to think of it as a similar situation. Kelly's car last race weekend was under that delta time, but there were points where she accelerated, and that's when the car gave out on her, which was similar in data to Kimi's retirement earlier in the race.
Well, the team's had great starts in every race so far this season. Seems like the team has some internal work to do. We hope to see both cars out front next time out in Jeddah. Thank you for your time, Toto.
We plan to keep the fight up front, and of course always great to have these talks.
Well, Ted, seems like you had your work for the night. We thank you again, friend, to get the job done down in the pit lane.
It seems like a lot of teams have put in a ton of effort this weekend, and it really shows on track, especially with how spread out the drivers are. Norris is only a few seconds away from lapping O'Sullivan in the Audi. And to remember, we do have Porsche and McLaren fighting in the top 10 when Konnersport has yet to put any upgrades on the car for the season.
That is something to remember for after this race weekend, as it seems like Hadjar is looking to close in on Lando Norris, who is having to do some battery conservation. Let's get back to the action.
And if you guys remember, Hadjar was about 5.6 seconds back on Norris before the end of the final pit stops, because we had Alonso. He stayed out late for his pit stop, which means he's probably on a two-stop on two soft tires. I'm not sure. I don't quite remember what tires he was on. But we're back on board with Carlos Sainz. Back in popping out for him, as he's going to be the first car to come in for his second pit stop off of those hard tires. That's going to be Pepe Marty coming in behind him around the corner in the background. Now he's going to be staying out on track. See who else is going to be coming in after Carlos Sainz. issue on the left rear. Looks like that's going to be Jackson coming in off his set of soft tires onto a new set of medium tires for the end of this race. First two drivers set for the rest of their race. Liam Lawson coming in his Maserati for his pit stop. Yes, the Red Bull's not doing so great this time around here in Bahrain. Onto a new set of hard tires for Liam Lawson. Issue putting on the right rear. They're in the back of the field, so it's not really affecting them that much. As we see, I believe that's Lando Norris, who has now lapped several cars. I believe that's O'Sullivan. Yep, O'Sullivan, Lawson, Behrman, or Aaron have been lapped. The Red Bulls have yet to be lapped. There's the Audi getting out of the way. Colapinto, Hadjar, Gasly in for his pit stop onto a new set of medium tires. So we see Bortoletto coming in for his pit stop. I honestly, every time I look at this Ferrari, I'm just so happy I chose this Ferrari mod for this season, and I might stick around with it for next season. No issue for Bortoletto. He's looking strong for this weekend. That's going to be George Russell coming in behind him for his pit stop. Yet again, another issue, left rear, putting the tire on for George Russell. This weather is really getting to teams as we see Lance Stroll coming in, and that's going to be Zane Maloney coming in behind him. Jackson making the position on Hulkenberg down the order, down the back straight. As we see Hulkenberg coming in for his pit stop. A lot of changes with these pit stops. A very strong two-stop can be a make it or break it situation here in Bahrain, and I know that for a fact because I've done a league race on this track so many times. 2 times I think it was, I don't quite remember. We see Lawson ahead. No, that's going to be O'Sullivan, who is currently behind, I believe, Fernando Alonso. Yeah, it's going to be Fernando Alonso ahead of O'Sullivan. That's going to be the lone Porsche of Hadjar. Coming out is Lando Norris, who's just ahead of Hadjar for the remainder of this race. 7-8 laps to go, and Norris has to conserve his battery as much as he can. Just try and stay ahead of him for the remainder of this race here in Bahrain. As we go through to see what other drivers are coming through the grid for their final pit stops, as it's soft tire territory to the end of this race. Norris, Hadjar, Mayer lead the way. Alonso P4, Gasly P5, Colapinto down to P6, who's about 3 seconds back behind Gasly. Bortoletto in the Ferrari P7, Pepe Marti dropping down the order with him in the pits. Russell up to P8, Marty down to P9, Paul Aaron P10. Can Sainz gain that position? Yes, he can. He's still out on track, pushing Albon outside of the points. And this might be our final top 10 for the remainder of this race with the difference in times. You have Sainz putting pressure on Pepe Marti for P9. You guys see it there. So we're looking to see where other drivers are, because a handful of these drivers are lapped. We see Hadjar chasing down Lando Norris. He's about 1.5 seconds back on, I believe that's 1 lap faster tires. Maloney, we're on board with P16, lap 23 of 29, behind his teammate of Esteban Ocon, coming through turn 4. It's gonna be smoke coming from Esteban Ocon. His teammate having to get out of the way. You're really on the racing line for Sector 2. Very dangerous situation, as it is still no safety car, no virtual safety car. So that is 2 drivers out here in Bahrain. About 7 laps to go. Norris leading Hadjar by less than 1 second, as we're seeing them go through turn 11. No, that's going to be turn 10. I was wrong. I'm getting ahead of myself. As we see Lando Norris and Hadjar coming up on who? Who is that? I am not quite sure who it was, but I think it was an Audi. I could be wrong. No, I was wrong. Baby Marty's up in P9. You see Hajar coming down to turn 14, not quite making the move here. He's going to have DRS. You see Norris charging his battery as much as he can. Yet again, like earlier in the race, it's going to be an easier overtake for Hajar for the lead. Now it's just up to Lando Norris to stay with him. As I believe that's a Ferrari of Leclerc. So that was Hulkenberg that they passed earlier. So Leclerc back down in P17. I don't know where his race has gone, but he is well out of the points and well out of the fight for this championship so far this race. We see an outside overtake from Norris on Hajar through turn 4. He can hold on to it as much as he can, but he's going to have that disadvantage with DRS down the main straight if he holds on to P1. As they're closing into Charles Leclerc, who is not having a good race. Nowhere close to making up a position. As you can see, the times are just getting more and more spread out from each other. The Red Bulls pushing their way up to P12, P13 after a pretty bad second stint. So we're on board lap 27 now to lap 28. Hajar looking to make another move on Lando Norris. Callie Mayer about 8 seconds back behind them. Gasly sitting P4, Alonso P5. We see the overtake from Hajar on Lando Norris into turn 1. That's going to be the Haas and Maserati. So that's going to be Paul Aaron and Zane Maloney that those leaders are sitting between. So Leclerc was lapped. Paul Aaron was lapped. Zane Maloney is about to get lapped as Norris is looking to chase down Isaac Hajar. And as we're coming down to this final lap, you guys remember I made some comments about driver rating edits, and I made a mistake. I forgot to save my save file to my desktop before making driver edits. So that is on me. I usually make driver edits when I know that they're not going to cause issues, but in this case with the F125 career mode editor by HowFR, I made the mistake of making an edit and then putting my save file on my desktop. So therefore, as we progressed after this race weekend, the driver ratings, all of the driver ratings basically who didn't finish in the top 10 zeroed out and basically ruined the save file, because we would have had some not so great drivers in our career mode finishing in the top 10 seconds, maybe 10-20 seconds clear of everybody else, and I don't want to do that for you guys. So currently at the time of this release, I am sitting there simulating through another Konnersport career save to get back to the point where we're at in the season. So we're not going to include the points at the end of this race. We're going to have the finishing podium ceremony as we see Konnersport coming in second place, Isaac Hajar coming in first. So we're going to make those changes and we'll get back to where we're at in the season, but the lineups are going to be different and the score is going to be different.
What a day! He's dominated from start to finish, proving that once more Red Bull gives you wins, and it's a win for Isaac Hajar.
Well, a great performance today by this driver, Crofty, and you could see that they're just at one with the car. Maybe really well adapted to the new regulations. They've clearly done their homework back at base, so fantastic stuff. And you get the feeling they're going to be hard to stop this season.
It's time for our podium celebrations. And as ever in Formula One, 3 is the magic number. And it's Isaac Hajar who triumphs today. He's claimed that top spot with an outstanding performance.